Hello, welcome to the Velt Bounce. G'day,
Hello,
Steve.
everyone. Hey, mate. How are you?
Good.
Good.
I'm hoping the audio's all right. I'm going to check that in a second.
At the
But I will
moment, you're
say-
clear to me.
Oh, even that's good. That's good.
Yes.
Mate, I want to say all the history, all the glamour, and
And all the pit stops couldn't save the Monaco GP, right?
yeah, well, maybe I've
Or
got
could it?
something. I've got some thoughts on whether or not they did actually answer the question about Monaco, but we'll share that one later. But yeah, jeepers, great qualifying,
Yes.
qualifying. Okay race. I think there was one pass that they didn't show on TV, you know, and it was your mate, the tennis
Oh.
player, that managed to get that done. And it was on the last lap, I believe. So true to form, Monaco just delivered another amazing race.
Well, we all know that Monaco is not about the race, Damo. It is all about the qualifying, and the qualifying did deliver. Well, sort of.
No, I was very happy with it. I was excited by it. Why would you say sort of? What's the issue for you, mate?
Well, apart from your audio, which is crackling away again.
Okay. Let me do some testing. Yep.
Well, it wasn't not so much of an issue. Just I think the cars are just far too big for this circuit, and to get out of the way, it's really difficult. So we saw aborted laps and things like that. Like it just, I don't know. I think Monaco has to change, Damien. I've said it. I think it has to change. The cars need to change, but I think it has to change. So yes. Anyway, it wasn't bad. It was good for Lando Norris. He did a stellar job, returned to form for the young Brit. He managed to do a 69-second lap, and that's good enough for me. So,
Mate, I have checked the audio. Audio's fine on the stream, so it's definitely your end.
It's just coming through to me. Well,
yes,
that just says that your internet's crap for me. That's okay.
But how good? I mean, it kind of went almost unnoticed, that lap being record breaking. It kind of crept up on the commentary team and everything. It was just like, oh, great lap, he's won. And then all of a sudden it's like, it's a record. Like,
it's a record.
They were not on top of that at all, but it was a stellar lap. And it didn't, I mean, to be honest, that all of them looked like they had more in it. Oh, there you go. Oh, sorry.
What are you doing?
Well, because I had YouTube open checking my audio, and then I just hit on something that's just gone to some random page. It's all fixed.
Fair enough. It's all fixed. Very good.
Yeah. So yeah, we've got Lando who just delivered a stellar lap. But yeah, as I was saying, I think there was actually a bit left for all of them in that sort of top 3-4.
Yeah, look, I think there was definitely plenty left in Piastri. He just wasn't comfortable in the car overall. And yeah, I don't know. It's not well done, Lando. Full credit. You have the record, but I don't feel like it's like peak. When you watch laps and you can see they are absolutely on the edge of everything and they've maximized it. I didn't see that. So still a great lap, not going to say that, but there's a little bit more left in him and left in the others too.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's why it caught everyone by surprise. It was such an underdone lap that it didn't have the hallmarks of one of the greats. It looked like a great lap, like a good lap, not a great lap. So, but kudos to him. He definitely switched himself on for the weekend. And yeah, you said Piastri, he just could not quite get it all weekend. There was just always, he just wasn't comfortable, or there was something happening. And it's kind of funny how neither of the McLaren drivers can ever peak at the same time, really.
Well, I think that's lucky for the team, to be perfectly honest. Because I think if they both peaked at the same time, they'd be fairly similar. Like, let's not get away. I know we've talked earlier about Piastri, taking the ascendancy and everything else, but ultimately at peak form, both of them are very good. And yeah, there wouldn't be a whole heap different. You're talking, tenths here and there on and that's favoring one in one section and favoring the other in the other. So, yep, I'm intrigued to see how Spain goes, mate. But we'll recap that, or we will review that later.
Preview that we will.
Preview?
I guess let's move on to kind of the yeah, clearly we're on form tonight.
Yep.
Let's talk about the race, and I guess let's start off with that. Well done, Lando, who really did nail the race.
I thought he was going to nail the barrier at turn 1, just quietly.
Mate, that was an impressive start in the cool down room. That was what Oscar said as well. He goes, "Mate, I thought you're both gone," and he was probably just like excited. I've got this race now, but that was some lockup that he managed really well post that until he got to his pit stop. But yeah, it was a bit of a shocking start.
It was a shocking start, but the race, mate, it's a hard watch. I mean, when you have Behrman go into the pits on lap 1 and then come out and go 3 seconds a lap faster than the leader,
yeah,
that's a bad look. Like, if you're just trundling around a race circuit, it's not a good look, honestly.
No, it's not. And I guess there was phases where some people were going much faster, and then people, like putting out the old elbows and tracking it at bloody 4 seconds a lap at one point, I think slower than everyone else with the Lawson stuff, and then the later blocking that was happening from the Williams.
Yep. It was intense, and watching Lawson. I mean, let's be fair. Williams have copped a fair amount of criticism for their tactics, but it was actually the Red Bull team, Red Racing Bulls team, actually started the whole thing, and it was Lawson just backing the pack up to beyond 20 seconds so Hadjar could have a pit stop.
Twice, absolutely. And then he returned the favor to make sure Lawson had a window. It was kind of one of those things that they did talk about in the lead up, and it was a possibility that people would pit early and cause some of this kind of like chaos, but it just did not. You're right, didn't hit well with the fans, and I don't really understand. I guess I do understand that, not everyone gets deep into the weeds and understands that that's just part of the racing. They have to do what they have to do. And I guess we'll touch on my thoughts on that a bit later. Quickly on that, I guess with the tactics, great race for the Racing Bulls. Both Lawson did a stellar job and Hadjar again. And the Williams, the tactics worked in their favor, whereas others who did that strategy did it not quite in the right time, or it just didn't quite work out with the virtual safety car and stuff, and it didn't pay off. They were really the only two teams that maximized that strategy.
Yeah, I think for everyone else, they're kind of boned by that. With the other two starting to play that game early, you kind of stuffed from the outset. And if you were stuck behind them, your day was over. Look at the two Mercedes cars. They even forgot that they had to do 2 pit stops at one stage.
Well, let's kick that one off, because let's keep on the Mercedes stuff. Absolutely terrible weekend for them. You forgot about a pit stop. I mean, that's almost, well, not sackable, but jeepers, that's pretty bad. Not remember that you've got these rule requirements. I mean, anyway, but yeah, terrible weekend. And then the strategy choice. Okay, let's leave them out long and do both cars on the same strategy when you're buried in the field. I mean, anybody with any insight or any understanding of this sport could have told you that's not a good choice, because whatever the outcome, it was either going to be really, really good for both cars or really, really bad, as it turned out, pretty much for both cars. Other than Russell fucking breaking rules and telling officials, "Fuck it, I'm breaking the rules just to get a result."
Yeah, well, I mean, he definitely broke the rules. I mean, we'll touch on Russell maybe.
Yeah.
No, we'll touch on Russell now.
Touch on now. Yeah.
I really think that, like, I get it, but at the same time, I mean, it is the officials that have caused this. What I didn't like about Russell was the fact that after the fact, he was having a good old whinge about it all, and then coming up with what he felt was comedic changes to the race that they could do. And I just like, I don't know. I felt like it was a little disrespectful. Yeah, F1 tried something, it didn't work. But at least they tried something. Like, I'd rather them try it. I mean, we said it was unlikely to work, but it's better to try it than just keep the same status quo, right?
Yeah, look, yes and no. I mean, I don't know. Like, I sort of feel like, in terms of the decisions that he made through that race, obviously he was making them off the back of some very bad strategy. And I just felt like he was just taking everything into his own hands. And it's okay to kind of say, yeah, I'm going to overtake him and cop the penalty. But then I thought as you say, some of the commentary, both in car and post, was too far for me. I just feel like, he should have, or potentially should have, got a deeper, like, I think they already threw a pretty heavy penalty on him, but in reality, he probably needed more than that, just to, when you're not observing the umpires or the referees of the sport, it's a pretty bad look, especially from the Drivers Association leader, head person, whatever he is.
Used to be. Formerly? Isn't someone taking over that now? I thought Sainz was at the head now.
Oh, is he? Oh,
I think so.
We'll do a spot check. I thought he was still there. I didn't, but
even so, previous or current, it's not a great look.
It's not a good look.
For all of Russell's, I mean, we call him a robot because he feeds the same shit over and over and over again. This was his, I suppose, brain fade or hemorrhage, or I don't know, but he really sort of lost it. And I mean, he wasn't angry about it or anything like that. Like, he wasn't being aggressive or anything. It was just that it was just disrespectful, I guess. And I mean, it ties into our last little pod where we sort of brought that up and put it in our little shorts and stuff, where you kind of need to respect the umpire's decision, respect the rules and the regulations, because that's what you're playing to. So you have to play to them. Whether you like them or not is irrelevant. You just got to play to them and do the best out of them. So I think, maybe pull up your socks there, young Georgie boy, and, go to Spain with a bit better mindset. I'm sure you'll have, you're going to have a rubbish weekend because it's warm.
It's not looking good for him in Spain. Yes, in March. So the end of February, March was the takeover of Carlos Sainz. So good.
There you go.
Good call that, mate.
Look at that. I know something.
Well, you do.
Chop it up. Put it out there. Send it to my wife. What?
Mate, the dead man walking. Let's not do that.
She doesn't watch.
Stop.
I think.
Ferrari had such a surprising weekend.
They had a great weekend. Well, one did.
Well, no. Well, okay, let's touch on that. I thought, and I saw the Natalie Pinkham interview of Hamilton post-race, and Natalie's great for the sport. She actually seems to have quite a passion. She knows a lot of drivers. She knows the way it works. But I just thought it was super disrespectful to talk to someone at Monaco where people have been held up in trains the whole way saying, oh, why were you so far behind your teammate? It's like, well, freaking hell. Like, there was a lot of shit going on in that race that was, like, really. And then it just seemed to be this little buzz around the paddock about, that he'd underperformed. And I just felt like, he's definitely not, he's not Leclerc, We know that he's been struggling, but geez, that's a bit rough, I think. Or am I being too kind, too much of a Lewis lover?
No, I think what people have forgotten is that he had a penalty, which I don't feel like he should have really got. Yes, he impeded, but it didn't actually affect Max one iota. And I think that needs to sort of come into it a little bit, especially around Monaco.
Yeah.
Anywhere else, absolutely, right? But in Monaco specifically, it's pretty hard. And it was more the team than Hamo himself that cocked it up. So I kind of feel like the team should have grabbed that, but that stuffed his race, right? That immediately puts you miles behind. You struggle, you're stuck behind people, you can't do anything about it. You fall miles back, and then everyone goes, "Oh, you had a crap race." Oh, he didn't really. He wasn't that far away from Leclerc in time, so I thought it was a pretty good effort by Hamo. It's just unfortunate that it's the way Monaco is. You get a penalty, he kind of stuff.
And then what is going on between him and his engineer?
Ricardo Adami? Adami. Got it?
Yes. So I'll just give my 2 cents on. I haven't rated that guy. I mean, Saints used to absolutely own him and tell him what to do. So I think he's struggled for a while, but Jesus, sorry, keep going because that radio message at the end, that was awkward, and we're not there.
I haven't actually heard the last radio message, so I probably should go back and have a look at that one. But I mean, it was bad enough throughout the race, really. And it definitely sounds like it's not coming to a head, but there's definitely something going on there. Vasseur talked it down in an interview. I can't remember who the interview was. It might have been Ed Straw, but he was like, no, there's no problem here. It's fine. It's just discussion between engineer and driver. It's okay. We okay in Ferrari.
I don't know where that bad impression of Fred was, but he did play it down just to get you up to speed. So at the end of the race, basically they were talking, and Hamo said, "Are you upset with me?" And then there was silence on the radio.
Oh yeah.
Now there's talk that maybe they don't know the timing. Maybe he was coming through the tunnel. We lost comms, something like that. But if it was silence, then it would have been an interesting debrief. That's for sure.
You missed that. I picked up the headset and threw it.
No, Mikey, no.
I think it was a case of either I've ignored you or I've put the headset down because I've had enough, and haven't heard that last call. So either way, it's not good. But here's the thing, right? Hamilton hasn't won 7 championships because he's necessarily the easiest to deal with. He's won 7 because he knows how to win. Yeah. And if the engineer that he has isn't delivering, well, he's going to get pissy. Like any driver does. And not me, but
of course others. Not. No, you've never gotten angry or road raged. Look, and it probably needs him. I hope that Hamilton doesn't kind of pull back. I think they need him to be able to drive it and say, "Come on, this is not good enough. What are we going to change? How are we going to make it better?" That's what Lewis does best, and they need to adjust. It's Ferrari that have this challenge. Yep. I don't think it's on Lewis's side.
No, I don't think so at this point. I mean, I think he needs to find a 10th or 10th and a half to Leclerc. But I mean, at the end of the day, if he has the right engineer who can deliver him a car fairly well in the window at the begining of the weekend, he'll find that time. He's that type of driver. So, we'll see what happens in Spain. I feel like their pain might come back in Spain, unfortunately. But,
oh, it's
yeah.
like poetry. It rhymes. I love it. All right. Well, let's get a bit more spicy. I don't know your take on this one.
Oh, God.
But Antonelli's move
Gone rogue
on Bortoleto. What say you on that move? Because for me, it could be interpreted either way. I sort of feel like the move's on, and Bortoleto needed to give some space, but seemed to turn in. But he wasn't, as always, wasn't quite far enough at the point of impact, which makes it a difficult one. But I think you've got to give space, early laps. I think the move was on. It was fair.
Well, I think Bortoleto mugged them and then got mugged himself by not actually covering the corner. So
yeah,
all's fair in love and war. You just got to deal with it. But what Bortoleto should have done is the moment that Antonelli went down the inside is conceded the corner. Because you just can't go too wide, not with the size of the cars. So it was always going to result in him being in the barriers one way or another if you try and stick there. So, I mean, sure, he possibly would have lost another position, but that's better than being in the barrier. I don't know.
Very true. Yep, very true. And I must admit, it was good that he got going again, because I just thought, if he gets stuck in there again, we'll have 2 years in a row where opening lap they end up red flagging. That was my initial thought. I was just like, here we go.
Actually, I've forgotten. What happened to Gasly? Because he smacked into someone, didn't he? Who was it? Who did he hit the back of? He just misjudged it.
Who was it? I can't remember who he hit.
Team. We didn't have this in the notes, and it just came to my brain right then.
Yeah, I can't remember who he hit. Oh, Yuki. Didn't he hit Yuki?
Yeah, he hit the back of Yuki.
He was coming out of the tunnel.
That's right.
And
because Yuki called him an idiot.
That's classic Yuki, though. Yeah. But yeah, no, that was a weird one, because there was a little bit of covering the corner but braking on the diagonal from Yuki.
Yeah.
But by the same token, Gasly was way too hot. Like, he wasn't even close.
Yeah, he wasn't making the corner.
And what do you take of, should he have gone down the side road, like just basically kept the wheel to the right rather than continue all the way back and dropping carbon fiber everywhere?
Mate, come on. Like, seriously, you've just busted a wheel off straight down that exit road on the right-hand side, mate. Don't need that stupid VSC coming out because you're an idiot.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Maybe Yuki was right. Why would you? I don't know. We probably would have gotten the VSC anyway, because there was a bunch of carbon fiber everywhere from the actual impact. But I think straight away that car wasn't getting back in the race. You just drive down that escape road and park it.
Yeah, because I rewatched the vision, and it is a little borderline. He did have the opportunity to he was on that side heading towards like the divider. And so he could have, with his one working wheel, but he actually, at that point, he actually steers left to go around, and so made a conscious decision to keep on the track. And then his engineer told him, bring it back to the pits. And not the brightest things
everywhere.
Yeah, imagine that. Okay, now
moving on from Alpine,
I want to ask about what the fuck is going on at McLaren and Oscar's pit stops.
Oh, that's just to keep Lando in the mix.
Yeah,
oops, was that a bit?
That's a conspiracy.
We should throw that one up. Clip it. Clip it. Oh, we clip it. Right. Yep. Got it.
Yeah,
we'll clip it. Yep.
Mark it.
Two races in a row is kind of unforgivable in my eyes. Once, shame on you. Twice, sack. See you later.
And both times it's like a second more in the pit stop.
Yeah.
So it's like legitimately. I mean,
did you hear Oscar on the radio? Well,
no,
that didn't work.
But I forgot. Oh, what did he say?
He goes, well, that didn't work.
Oh, just classic Oscar. I love it.
Yeah. No, sorry.
Yeah. Going, mate. No, it's just like, I don't know. Like, it's got to be at the point where if they screw it up again, I don't know what they're going to do about it or whether they've taken action, but almost flawless pit stop for Lando, and then just not even close. And it just looked a bit clunky. It wasn't like something went wrong with the gun or anything. It was literally just didn't nail the stud, so I didn't get the wheel gun on properly. Then a bit of unwind, and then a bit of clunky getting the wheel off and back on again. There wasn't a lot going right for Oscar at all in that one, and that just kind of like when that happened, I was just like, "Fuck!" All right,
let's put this in a positive spin. Okay.
Oh yes.
So when it's not going right for Oscar, it's still third.
Yeah.
Right.
That is the upside.
That's the upside, right? Like he hasn't had a great weekend. He wasn't comfortable in the car. As he said, he's hit more things that weekend than he has in his entire career. So when you look at all those things, and to be honest, actually, to be fair to the gun guy, it was the left rear that had a problem, and he did tag that wall on the exit of one when he slid out. So potentially that was maybe a contributing factor. But still unforgivable in today's day and age. We shouldn't be seeing Valtteri Bottas stuck in the pit lane moments anymore. But when it's bad, but you're still third, you got to be pretty happy. I think now is switch focus, go to Spain, and for us and for him, just kill it and have a perfect weekend and get everything back on track and away you go type thing.
Yes, indeed. Just a quick segue before the next one is that there was Valtteri Bottas did a little summary on his Instagram before Monaco, and he was running through, everything, and he got to the pit stop things, and he goes, "I know a thing or two about pit stops around here." And it was just like, you poor bastard, the world's record for the longest pit stop.
Well, was it 3 months did it take to get that wheel off?
Something I think it was 3 weeks or something. It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. Crazy. All right, well, let's have a quick chat. Let's unpack the 2 mandatory pit stops that was compulsory and brought in by the FIA to make the race interesting, manufacture something. And I think it worked. I think it worked. And do you know why it worked? Because it proved to the world there is nothing you can manufacture at Monaco that will ever change the fact that with these current cars and the current tires, etc., that it's always going to be processional on a Sunday. And I'm hoping that people can start to realize, okay, we just love Monaco for the quality on the Saturday and for the glamour, the glitz, and the history of racing at that track. That's basically how I feel, that it just shows that it doesn't matter what you do, the cars don't fit there, and the style of racing, you're never, ever going to get a different result unless something really freaky happens, rain, something else, I don't know, but people caught on dry tires, like on slicks instead of wets, and that sort of chaos is the only way I think you'll make the race interesting. That's my 2 cents.
I reckon the race can be interesting, but we need we say it all the time, we just need the cars to shrink.
They're not going
to. That's the problem. Well, they are shrinking next year. So look,
or something. 5%.
But that's 10% between 2 cars, right? And that's the difference between slotting it down the inside somewhere. So,
all right.
But at the end of the day, right, you're right. Monaco is about being picturesque. It's about glamour. It's about money. And the history of our sport. And when you go back and watch, I think I rewatched a 98 clip the other day that popped up on YouTube, and I was like, look at the passing. Yeah, they're jamming it down the inside, but how small were the cars? So you could jam it down the inside.
They're literally half the width. So it's
Well,
yes.
it's not even that, they're half the length.
Yeah,
That
true.
also helps as well. Like, I mean, you don't have to steer a limousine through a tight course. It's more of a small sports car type thing. So it does help. But yeah, I mean, we're not going to get back to that next year. But I mean, this is a good segue, I guess, because then we can talk about the track needing to change. And the thing that I actually specifically want to talk about is that Alex Wirtz, former driver, actually put 3 changes he would make to the course to help it. And I just thought it was really interesting. And what would have been really smart is if I had it up.
Yeah, I was just doing that while you're talking. I'm just going to see if I can find.
But his changes, and forgive me, I don't know. I think it's Lowe's hairpin, or it might have changed names now. The first one was at the hairpin, and
all right, I'm going to.
Is he going to find it? Is he?
Yep,
Come on,
I'll
Damien.
find it.
Come on, Damien,
you
save me! Save me!
I'll make it work. I'll make it work. Just keep talking. Keep talking. Just
do it. So down into the hairpin, they literally his proposition was to literally cut off some of the walkway and straight line it a little bit, and then open it out on the outside on both the entry and on the exit to allow for an overtaking dive down there. He said dive bomb. But we'll say dive to open that up and allow that opportunity. And then his second thing was actually increasing the length of the straight out of the tunnel. They're the 3. So if you can see on your screen now, so the top one is the one I'm about to talk about. So whereby you increase the length of the straight by about 80, I think he says it's 80 to 100 meters.
Yeah, it says 80. Yep.
To then go left and then go right. So it just gives you that little bit longer opportunity out the tunnel to actually get a run on. Now, that doesn't mean it's not guaranteeing the pass, but it just means that it gives you an opportunity. And then that last corner section, which actually is probably the easiest to change because they have the room by the look of it. Is to straighten that section out as you come into the corner and change the way you actually, because right now you use it as a double apex and you aim at the first one. Whereas this change would actually allow you to open up the corner and then allow someone else to try and get down the inside. So a few different ideas that I don't think are too far bad. Obviously, the most expensive one is increasing that straight area because there's a lot of things that would have to change because there's water there. But
they're going to miss out on. They're going to miss out. These boats pay millions of dollars to park here. They're going to miss out on. They won't, because all they do is they just move them further in.
Exactly.
I think the extension of the straight is and the Rascas one is that they're the 2 for me that would make the most sense. I don't care. They've got the Fairmont hairpin. We used to call it the Lowe's hairpin, but I don't see really much point. People are not going to dive down there because you've got the corner before has got like that little kink. You have to dive in, but then you're on the outside of the next corner anyway, right? So I don't see reprofiling that as making much difference, but definitely changing this into that one apex would give you the opportunity to dive down the middle, down by the inside in the middle of the picture. And then this one would at least provide a bit more of that DRS. You could probably kick off a DRS zone here. And so as you come out of the tunnel, DRS on just for like whatever it is, like that extra 80 meters. And then brake and then just maybe give you that little bit of kicker as you're coming into the corner.
Yeah, and look, I mean, there's small things, right? But they're expensive no matter what. It doesn't matter what you do. If you're changing your track, they're expensive to change. But even if you do 2 of those 3, as you said, I think it just opens up the opportunity for it for a little bit of passing. It doesn't guarantee shit. And I wish people would realize that. It's like there's no silver bullet for these things, because these drivers know how to drive to keep their position, right? Unless they absolutely lost all their tires completely, they know how to defend. So it's always going to be difficult. But I think at least a couple of those changes would be nice to see in 2 or 3 years' time, maybe.
Indeed. Good food for thought. Well, I don't really want to. I don't think we're adding much value on this next section. So,
if it's predictions, just skip it. I don't think anyone needs to know that we're.
You want to?
Well, let's have a look, Damo.
Let's have a look.
Yeah, no.
If we were to then show you what we predicted versus the outcome, I mean, I was like freaking Russell. What did he end up like 11th? Good work there, mate.
Well, come on, man. Who thought he was going to stuff up quali like they did? Like, seriously.
And then stuff up strategy straight after that, like in the race. You couldn't pick it.
Nah. I would have just done the 2 pit stops straight away and then caught to the back of the field. And when they all pitted, at least you probably pick up a point or two.
Yeah, it would have made the most sense. But no one picked the Ferrari thing. Even in the interviews leading in, Leclerc was like, we're really bad in slow corners. It's going to be a struggle for us. And it's like, wait a second. Your car was bloody competitive, and I can't understand for the life of me why, like how did that happen? From? Yeah, because if the drivers don't expect it, then because normally they've got all the data, they're being told, right, these are the tracks we're going to be good at, these are the corners you're going to be good, like they know all the data. Like, did Ferrari just get it that wrong that they didn't understand the car, or did the upgrades change it? Like, it feels out of the field.
Mark Hughes actually said that I think it was Mark Hughes, or is it Gary Anderson? One of the two. We're talking about, like, at Miami, if you actually looked at them pace-wise in the slower corners, they actually were quick. So he didn't buy into the hype that they weren't going to be fast, because he said you could see if you actually dived into the data that they were pretty good there. So it makes sense that they would be good here when it's just all slow corners. Because where Ferrari sucked was once they went to the high speed, because they were running a higher ride height to save the blank. They didn't have the downforce that they had at the start of the season. So then the car becomes a bit of a handful.
It does.
So, but yet we didn't read it. We didn't know.
We didn't read it, and we definitely wept. Weep, sucker.
And Piastri let us down.
He definitely did. And I will say also, he's got to fix his starts. He's not having bad starts, but he's just like just having a perfectly average start. Like, he's not able to get much pace. He's not dropping way back, but people around him are getting better ones. At Imola, George got a blinder. Verstappen was not as bad, but ended up breaking late. And then this one, the two ahead of him they just cleared out.
Yeah, they did. I think that was a particularly bad start for him. I think Imola was perfectly fine. I just think George got an absolute blinder. And I don't think he starts it too bad, because you go back to Saudi, he mugged Max. So, I don't think that. I think you might be reading a little bit too much into that. I think he'll be okay. I still think, like, Lando start wasn't spectacular either. He sort of had the initial launch and then went almost nowhere, which is why he almost outbraked himself. So,
yeah.
I don't know, but both the McLaren boys could probably do with a little bit of practice starts. But you know what I'd love to see, Damo? Let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of those electronic bullshit things that allow them to just start almost perfectly every fucking time, and get them to actually start the race.
Mate, they can't even get the launch process stuff right. How are they going to do it on their own? I mean, yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
Anyway,
moving on.
Yeah, well, that wraps up for us on the old Monaco.
Monaco.
But the last of the triple headers, we're going to tag onto the back of this one. We're going to do our little preview for Spain for the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya.
Yes.
And just try and make sense of what the hell is going to happen there. Because we are definitely not the experts, that's for sure.
No, clearly washed.
So I guess we're gonna just sort of kick off. We've got our thing that we kind of touch on most times. We've got the formation lap. I'm just going to do some rapid fire stuff before we get to our predictions. Okay.
Yes.
So I'm going to kick off. And I'm going to ask you, Ferrari will fall to the back. Oh, actually, sorry, I'm reading the wrong doco. Anyway, let me start the new one. Try again, idiot. So do you buy it or squash it that Lando's girlfriend and his hiatus from socials has reinvigorated his championship hopes? Or will the woes come back just like the Danny Rick issues happened?
Well, the first bit, I'm going to squash it. Just because he emptied his balls doesn't mean he's suddenly better. Good time to take a drink there, Damo.
It was.
But yeah, no, look, I think Lando's woes go deeper, and I think it was masked a little bit over the Monaco weekend for some reason. I'm not going to guarantee that he's not going to have found something. And very much Andrea was like, oh, Lando's done so well. He's found his extra. He's getting to grips. Like, he was really, really positive on it. And I was kind of like, don't know if I buy that, Andrea. Not quite. Yeah. So we'll see. If it becomes a trend where he's up there consistently, then I'll say, yeah, sure. But right now, my feeling is that we'll go to Barcelona, and the faster corners, which caught him out in China, will catch him out there. So that's my feeling. I could be completely wrong, but yeah.
Cool. All right.
Right. So, Damo.
Yeah.
Merc will suffer in the heat of Barcelona.
Definitely. 100%. We've seen enough now to know that they still suffer, and the weather for there just is a good time for us to kind of kick in. It's basically going to be 30 degrees, 29, 31, 30 for the weekend.
Toasty.
Yeah, Merc are going to be in a world of pain. So, yeah, another shocker for them is my
Why aren't we in Barcelona?
I don't know, because it's getting freaking cold here.
Cold in Melbourne, I know.
And I could deal with a little bit of sun and heat for sure.
Yeah, agreed.
All right. Russell needs to be less vocal after the races.
we touched on this 100%. Just any Brit.
Any Brit.
Shit. This is going to sound really bad. But any Brit needs to just be quiet after their poor performances or bad races, because I just don't want to listen to you. It sounds harsh. There's nothing against you guys. I love you all. You're great. I actually enjoy your country. Been there a couple of times. But, man, when you guys whinge, I mean, look, maybe that's the same as you guys think of us Australians. I don't know. But it's something about it.
The reasons that Australia nicknamed them the whinging Poms, right? there is a reason. And sometimes
it comes
it's
through.
Just cultural or something. It doesn't gel.
Very good. Very good. So Ferrari upgrades, Damien. Will they work in Spain, or was Monaco a flash in the pan, and will they be in the back of the 10 again? Like Imola.
I think it's a smooth track, and I think they will be okay. I don't think they're going to be in the top 4, but I think they'll be around that sort of like 8-4 range somewhere. Their biggest issue, I feel is that ride height. And as soon as they can't really get it as low as they want to, makes no difference when you're going slow at Monaco, right? You don't have that problem. But as soon as you hit some of the other tracks, and it's relatively smooth, so I think they'll be okay. But there's certainly I think it's gonna highlight that they had a really good weekend because it was Monaco, and not necessarily because of the upgrades.
Okay.
Yes. So, mate, Verstappen, he will reign in Spain. Yeah. Yeah.
There's a possibility, but I think the outlier here, we saw the pace that the Red Bull had in Imola, right? So they clearly were able to manage something with the tires at Imola, but it wasn't extreme heat. And we're now bordering extreme heat, so it may actually not play into his hands as much as it could if it was sort of that 22 sort of area. Yeah, look, I mean, I'm not going to call. I mean, we're constantly calling that it's it's a McLaren track no matter what. But and if it's hot, everyone just goes, "Oh, it's McLaren." But we did that at Imola. We thought with the 26 odd degrees it would be a McLaren whitewash, and it wasn't. So he could, because if he is anywhere in that window, and that car loves a smooth surface, we know that much. He could be there.
Could be there. There you go.
Could be there. Could be there.
That was
could be
as non-committal as ever.
Yeah. Anyway, Sky Sports will glaze about Lando's win in Monaco. Oh my god!
Okay,
in Monaco, and how he's the number one driver now.
Start it again.
Start it again. Okay, Sky Sports will glaze about Lando's win in Monaco, and how he's the number one driver now in McLaren.
Yeah, I am preparing myself for a lot of that to happen. I'm hoping they will have leveled themselves a little bit, and we'll just sort of talk about how he's, it's a great return to form, but he's got to maintain it. That's really the messaging. But I am prepared to start, possibly throwing shit around the room when they start talking about who's the greatest ever. Oh, far out. Get stuff.
They were already banging on about it at Monaco, mate. It is not gonna. It's only going to ramp up from there. And how good he is, and how he's now only 3 points behind Piastri, and that everything else is just forgotten because that was just a blip of 4 or 5 races. Let's just talk about that swing for a second of Piastri being 23 points behind Lando, to then getting 16 points ahead before getting back to the 3. So, very interesting times until I see a trend. You know me, I love a pattern. I love a trend. Like if you start seeing that consistent level all the time, then sure, we can have that discussion. But at the moment, Monaco was a blip for Piastri. He should have won Imola if he wasn't soft at the as turn 1. So, and the pit stop wasn't bad. And but that's what happened. So we move on, and Spain will Piastri territory.
All right. The last little spicy take. Colapinto has been a waste of an experiment and cost Alpine points and opportunities at Imola and Monaco.
100%, mate. Like, I actually think those 2 races would have suited doing down to the bone. Yeah. I honestly believe that. And nothing against Colapinto, and please, if you're a Colapinto fan, just calm down. I actually really like Colapinto, but I don't think he's as here as everybody thought he was, when he came in last year. So, and he's been handed by Gasly each time. So I don't see it. I would be calling after Spain, calling Doohan and saying, "Hey, mate, we're so sorry, but can you please come back?" But they won't because money.
They won't. But it's also it's not really, Colapinto's fault either, because he's a rookie. it's Alpine that have basically, sold the dream.
It's
and
the team.
I don't think it doesn't matter. Like, even if they take him out and throw Dawn back in, I think, you never want it to be that case, but it's very rare that drivers come back in the right fashion. And we see the extremes on both end of perhaps those that can do it. And then, the Lawsons of the world, like, he's taken, 4 races or something to get
Fine mojo.
Yeah. So, it's
we should touch on that, actually. Well done, Lawson, at Monaco, because you did drive really, really well. You still got beaten by your teammate, but it was far closer than it has been. So that's good. Keep that rolling and keep working on it. But geez, actually, let's just stop there for a split second and just Isaac Hadger.
Oh, legendary.
I am so impressed with that kid. Like, other than the blip in Melbourne, he has been rock solid the whole way through. I mean, there's talk of him going to Red Bull. I hope not. Don't do that. That's career suicide, no matter who you are. But seriously, find an opportunity in another team, or just stay with them until there is another opportunity
next year
with another team. So, I'm seriously impressed with him, and I hope he doesn't get Red Bulled.
Me too. Yeah, I'm hoping they can just keep him there, have the experience, give Yuki the time, and then make the decision. No, Yuki is either good enough and we're happy, or he's not, and put Isaac in. I don't see him leaving the family just yet, but
no.
All right. Now, I guess what we'll do now is just a little bit of a quick preview. There's only a few things I want to touch on before we get to our predictions. The C6 tire is back again. I'm really wondering how it's going to hold up at a different style circuit like Barcelona, Catalunya.
I don't like this tire at all. Just quietly.
Well, I sort of feel like I don't like it, but I'm waiting to see how it's going to go at this event. Gives us a good opportunity to really say, hey, the tire is just shit, or it's actually in a different format. It has some utility. So there is that. Flexi Wing, the saga, comes to an end.
It comes to an end. We find out it's not the Flexi Wings that have given them the pace. Look, it's going to have an impact a little bit, sure. But I think if you look at Imola, some of the onboards and so forth, the wings aren't flexing that hard anymore. So I think I think we've seen that be erased now. So I wouldn't predict that it's going to change much. And the thing is, at the end of the day, they're all they all have a level of flexi wing. So they all get impacted. And they're like, oh, it's a silver bullet. McLaren's back to the pack. It's not how that works.
I think it's time to prove the haters wrong.
It is.
And McLaren will still be just as good. I'm actually more concerned about some of those mid to lower teams that perhaps don't have the right resources or preparation.
Like Alpine.
They could be in trouble, but we'll still wait and see what that's happening.
Man.
And I guess lastly, before the predictions, like, it's now really looking to a bit of a championship battle. I know Max is always going to be a contender and be up there, but Lando stepped up last one. We've got the points back to being very close between the two McLaren drivers.
Yep.
So we're back to a bit more of a championship battle because, if depending on who can get up this time, we could be very, very spicy for the rest of the year.
It could be spicy for the rest of the year, and I think it will be spicy for the rest of the year. I don't think anyone's going to just run away with this particularly. And look, if Oscar gets a run on like he did previous to the last two races, then you could start to make an argument. But ultimately, you can recoup those points so quickly now, and we've seen the swings happen before. So, I think it's a battle between the two of them. Who's, Max is what now? Was he 136? So he's 20, 24 points behind. So he's almost a race behind Oscar. Is that right? 161 points, if I've mathed.
Yes, maybe. I think that's right. I'm doing it off the top of my head. Looks about right to me.
Looks about right.
I'm happy to run with it.
24, 25 points. So it's basically a race, right? So it's still not out of his reach either. I'd say it's out of George Russell's reach, which is in fourth, because he's not even hit the 100 barrier yet. But yeah, at the moment, it's a 2-horse, 3-horse race. But it's whether Red Bull can bring upgrades and whether they want to bring upgrades. How much are they going to fight for it with the second car just nowhere anyway? They probably won't.
Good call, because we are starting to get to the towards that halfway through the year, where they've got a totally new car to deal with next year. So budget constraints. It'd be interesting to see how that fares.
Yeah, and who turns off the switch? I mean, we know Williams apparently aren't bringing upgrades throughout the year, so they're not even bothering, and they're still getting results, which I find fascinating.
do less,
get more. I wish that was the case.
Yes.
No, very good, mate.
All right, so then I guess if we look at a bit of the predictions and what
I don't know if I want to do any predictions. We've been so bad the last 2 weeks, man.
We're definitely not helping anyone. We're definitely enjoying a rough ride is probably the best way I'll put it. But so I've gone for Piastri to get pole.
Wow.
I think
straight in.
I think Piastri's the dude. He's gonna make it happen. He's gonna kick back and say, right, Lando, let me show you how it's really done. Who are you picking for pole position?
So I'm a little different. Yeah, I'm just doing something here because I just noticed something that was doing.
I know.
But I'm going for Verstappen.
Max.
Yeah, I think, as I said, I think he'll be good over a lap. I think the fact that the track is smooth will help. So I'm predicting Verstappen having a comeback weekend after a struggle through Monaco. He definitely didn't have the pace there. Predicting Verstappen for pole.
Wow. Did not see that coming. Okay. So then who have you got for the winner?
Oh, Piastri. Naturally. Right. Yeah, because it's hot and he'll just McLaren it and drive off into the distance and regain his ascendancy over his Brit teammate and quietening down those little chatterboxes that we have to listen to every time there's a race on.
Well, there you go. Well, I picked Piastri.
Yeah, okay.
Right, but I did it the same way. It's McLaren. They're going to be. It's hotter weather. We should see still a slight advantage. So I picked Piastri to win, and then to beat Norris for my P2.
P2 for Norris.
You mentioned about McLaren, hot weather. So surely you've picked Norris for P2?
No. I'm thinking Verstappen's going to be able to hold off Norris because Norris is still Verstappen's bitch. No matter the ascendancy that Norris can get on occasion, Verstappen's still is too.
I was taking a drink. And I was just about to swallow when you his bitch.
He is. Norris is Verstappen's bitch. He's his little play toy. You just literally, I don't see him getting past him unless there's a big advantage. But I think Red Bull found something to make them somewhat competitive. And I don't think he's getting through on him. So obviously I've gone Norris third, judging by the fact that I said that they're going to have a battle. So I think that there's going to be Piastri from Verstappen, from Norris, and I'm going to be happy. You're going to be happy. Life's going to be good again.
Well, I mean, I'll be happier if it's Piastri, Norris, and then Verstappen in third. That's what make me happier.
No, Norris further back. I saw the best thing the other day. It was like there was people responding on the McLaren like Facebook page or whatever, and they're all, there's people that are very much Piastri fans or they're very much Lando fans, and then there's the people that actually just go for the team, and the people who go for the team are like, I don't understand why there's so much hate towards Norris. I'm like, it's not real hate. Just there's people that go for the driver, right? The team is by, like, technically I'm a Ferrari fan. If you go by team, right? But I am firmly a Piastri fan.
I mean, we have to, being Aussies. It's just naturally. You always follow your team. You follow your country driver. But what I find fascinating is that, like, I've got to remember that not everybody gets subjected to the Sky Sports commentary, so not everybody has that lens that we've been plastered with for 12 plus months of talking about a guy who had barely won a race at that point, and they were treating him like he was a world champion. And then he finally won a race. I was like, no, it's not a championship. It's just a race. Piastri's already, caught him up. So, I just wish, it's not that we dislike Norris.
No, absolutely not.
It's just that, we're sick and tired of him getting special treatment because of the British bias. And so we're applying an Aussie bias when we talk about Piastri.
That's it, because we're Aussie. We're trying to balance it up. So unfortunately for anyone who doesn't get the Sky Sports coverage, we're sorry, because you're just listening to us whinge.
But
it's okay. Our 38 fans, it's all good.
It's all good. Perfect. Well, good sir, that brings to an end this one, and we will obviously have a review and a well-timed break, I think, from F1, doing previews and reviews, and we'll come to you next week with probably some new videos. We're going to do some supercar stuff in the lead up to the supercar races that are coming up. And then we can take a little breather, do some F1 generalized stuff rather than this preview review that's just been ongoing and super heavy. So we're looking forward to bringing you some more content of the general style. So look out for some stuff.
And let us know, right? Like whether the content that we put out the last sort of week or so has tickled your fancy, or whether it's not. We want your feedback, because at the end of the day we want to improve ourselves and what we bring to the table. And if it's not the content you want, then we don't want to bring this content to you. We want to bring something that's of value and worthwhile and a bit of fun, and hopefully that's what it is. So but thanks for anyone who does tune in and watches. We love it, and interact with us and tell us we're washed. We don't care. It's fairly standard.
Love your style. Thanks, everyone. Keep up with us over the weekend on the socials, and we'll catch you in the next video. At the Valve Bounce everywhere, whether it's Twitter, whether it's Instagram, or even if you're really old on Facebook. We'll see you there.
See you guys.
See ya.